shining at me. It's so bright.
You're hot.
Yeah. So good morning. Welcome to our last up series for the summer, before the summer starts, for the summer break. Hopefully the summer starts soon. I'm Teresa Shaven, the Executive Director for the Business Advisory Center Durham. And welcome. And just to let you know, Frank Adina from Vitalize was the man who came up with all our speakers for this series. I had the idea that our clients and businesses in general always struggle to continually make sales and business development and connections. And Frank said, well, I'm very interested in sales because that's been most of my career has been around sales and business development. And I have this roster of wonderful people that I know and friends, people that have become my friends over the years that I'd love to bring them out to Durham region. So we came up with this kind of series because what was so nice as well is that it's people we don't all know. It's not necessarily people from Durham. Some are, but it's a new range of people that we, had such a pleasure meeting some of them. Louis is here in the audience. Louis was our speaker in February, right? March. Okay.
Time's going by fast.
Especially when you're
first day of summer.
Yes, first day of summer, yes. Anyway, BACD helps people who want to start their own businesses, want to grow their businesses. We run incubator and accelerator programs, and we are funded by the government. And so our services are mostly free to help those businesses get started and to create a business that's sustainable. Because if you create a business that's sustainable, you can make money. And when you make money, you spend money. And when you spend money, you make other services wealthy and you help the economy as a whole, right? So it's all about economic wealth. It's the cycle of wealth in our communities. These events wouldn't be possible without our sponsors and our partners. And I'd like to invite a couple of them up just to say a few words. Jay.
Thank you everyone for coming out. I've been coming out, I think I've only missed the first guest speaker. I know I'll never be a guest speaker because I don't have a vowel at the end of my last name. I am married to an Italian girl, so you've met her, she's nice. Frank did say I could make some jokes at his expense to lighten up the crowd, but I only have an hour and a half of material, so I'll have to just get right to it. So I just want to thank all of you for coming out. I want to thank Frank the Tank. He is literally a force of nature. He has introduced me to more people than names I can remember. He's probably touched all of you in here, hopefully none of you inappropriately. Or he has, you can talk to him.
Is this a roast?
Every time I talk about you, it's a roast. Don't say anything, it's just going to get worse. Anyways, I'm very happy to sponsor breakfast. Thank you, Frank, for bringing out all the great food and the fresh fruit and the treats. And I'm very much looking forward to the lovely couple coming up after this. So, thank you very much, Frank the Tank.
I did ask him to keep it clean, but it didn't work. JP from Open People. Yeah.
Yay,
Okay, perfect, thank you. Frank, I'm not going to say.
Oh, thank God. I got notes if we need them.
We're excited to be here. So at OPM we help film a lot of all of the series, and we do a few other things, and one of them is going to be Pitch at Durham. So we're excited for that. It's Monday night, and it's being brought to you by OPN, the City of Whitby. So there's a lot of cool things happening, and it's all around startups. So if you guys are interested, it's at 5:30. We can post all the details on opn.ninja. So if you guys are interested, by all means take a look at it, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody there.
It's just down the street at the marina.
Yeah, just down the street. Cool. All right, thank you.
It's at the Whitby Marina. I'd like to invite Daniel up from the town of Whitby, almost that city, but I do know it's a town. Thank you, Daniel.
Daniel.
We're happy to be hosting the sales series this whole year. Very excited about it and looking forward to the fall that's ahead as well when we'll be taking a break in the summer, but we'll be back in the fall. Some exciting things happening in Whitby, specifically the land registry office, which is next door. Just on Monday night, the operations committee, which is a committee of council, endorsed using that space as a business accelerator center, and that is not meant to duplicate what BACD is doing or what Spark Center is doing. It's meant to complement those organizations, and they're going to be in the tech space. So we're just, in the course of the next few months, going to be writing up a operational strategy to make that happen for Q1 2018. So that's all I have to say for Whitby's Act Dev right now.
Thank you. So last but not least, we're going to invite Frank up to introduce our speakers today. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, wow. First day of summer. We have 93 days to enjoy it. Thank you for being here. 93 days. It's kind of depressing, actually. This is the last of our series before we take a break. For me personally, I can't, Susan, look, I'm talking away from the mic.
Perfect.
For me personally, it's been terrific. I love this. It's one of my favorite events. I love seeing everybody connect. And yes, Jay, you didn't get invited because this is about sales professionals. So, we have a roster for next year.
I don't know if you can afford me now.
So we've had 5. We started out in January with Rick Manessa, who talked all about You Are Your Brand. We went into February where Sean shared with us about customized solutions and how you can have customers for 25, 30 years if you do it right. We went on to March with Mr. Louis, who talked about how you go with some challenges in life, sometimes that you're dealt with, and how you build a food empire, which he's done. In April, we were supposed to have Arlene Shepard from Gateway. Arlene had to cancel, unfortunately. We were fortunate to have Michael and Noah, and they talked about how they started with one store, that they lived in the back with his grandparents and his parents, and 600 stores later. So for me, I'm delighted now that I get to introduce today my best friend, Tony. Tony is one of my best friends. We met when we were 16 years old, and we were very happy when he married Leslie. So, and they have a wonderful story to share with you. So I just wanted, again, to reach out to Jeffrey, all the sponsors, Daniel, Teresa, for helping me to be part of this and allowing me to be part of this, rather. So please, let me share my story with you about Tony and Leslie. First of all, I'm going to read to you what we're promising today, the value proposition. Everyone is a salesperson, so why not be a great one? During this session, you will hear from wife and husband team Leslie Erth and Tony Martino, who will share their experience and knowledge as sales professionals. They will tell the story of how Leslie, with Tony's guidance as a 30-year sales master and president's winner with Rico, among other companies, helped her transition from a job in customer service hospitality to a top sales producer in the vehicle modification industry. They will share the plan that was originally devised to help make the transition, the twists and turns, the ups and downs, and how the student became the master, and illustrate how a difficult situation turned into a positive result. Leslie and Tony will also provide ideas that they have learned over the years that you can apply to your sales strategy and make a difference in growing it right away. These are interesting, simple things that can be incorporated into your daily life. So please join us, be inspired to grow your business, increase your sales, and be a great salesperson. So if you allow me now, the bio. I'll start with Leslie. Leslie Erth is a mobile consultant at Humberview Mobility. She has been providing customers with a high level of support and knowledge for the past 12 years. Her ability to assess clients' requirements and recommend the perfect solution for their needs has been her top priority since day one. She is regarded as one of the top consultants, subject matter experts in the industry, and has been the sales leader for many of her years in sales. Tony Martino is a strategic account executive at Rico. He is responsible for managing current outsourced customers and also developing new opportunities. Tony focuses in providing services, solutions, and high level of customer service to corporate Canada. He is one of the best negotiators that I ever met, and he's the only guy that can control the guys from high school. So that's got to tell you something. Over his 30 years of selling experience, he has been a consistent performer, attending multiple President's Clubs over that time. Tony and Leslie, they're here in Pickering. They're actually our first speakers from the Durham region. so they know all about Germ. And they have two beautiful, lovely daughters that you're going to see pictures in a little bit. Please, I ask you to help me welcome my dear friends, Tony and Leslie.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you all for coming out. So as Frank mentioned, today's format's going to be, I'll get it kicked off here. We're going to go through Leslie's story and then I'll take it back up. It'll be collaborative back and forth, obviously, but we're just going to share some of the information and some of the things that we've learned. Hopefully they're helpful for you. What I would like to do though is start today off with just a little question and hopefully you'll help us along with this. So just a show of hands, how many people in here are salespeople? Okay. You mind indulging me for a minute? Yeah, please stand up. So, your name is? Manal. Manal, I want to prove to you in a couple of simple steps that you actually sell every single day, and you start selling first thing in the morning. So, you decided to show up this day, you got up this morning, you got ready to go. Tell us why you dressed as you did.
I wanted to wear dress pants because this is like a professional event as well, so I decided to wear that. I don't know really
That's fair. That's fair. So, is it safe to say that when you got dressed this morning, you were deciding how to present yourself and how to sell yourself to the world? Okay. So, make no mistake about it, everything you do all day long involves some element of selling. For some odd reason over the years, selling has had a very bad name to it. You know, we all think of the used car salesman as a slimy salesperson. It's not that anymore, okay? Maybe it was in the past. Today, really what you're doing is you're helping people out and delivering sales services to people that need them. I personally believe I have never sold anything to anybody that they didn't want, okay? So, okay? So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to my lovely wife, Leslie. She's just going to take you through kind of the road that we've taken together through the last 12 years. And anyways, hopefully you enjoy it.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. As my lovely husband said here, I'm just going to take you through sort of my career and how I've started in sales, how I got into sales, and where I'm at right now. Hopefully you find it interesting, and I'll just get going. So, where my sales career started, I was waitressing many years ago. It wasn't a job that I wanted to stay in forever. It wasn't a career I wanted to do for the rest of my life. There's nothing wrong with it, but I did want to branch out. I talked to my lovely husband and we sort of formulated a plan, and he said, why don't you get into sales? I thought, sure, that's a great idea. You know, I said, you're personable, you're friendly, you know, it would probably be a good career for you. I just thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to sell? I have no sales experience. Where can I start? So basically, we just formulated a plan for myself, just to get out there and just get a sales job. Take any job you can. So I just applied to different places. I didn't have any experience, but my first job was with a company called Action Pack, and I sold direct mail advertising. So that's job taught me a lot. It's those little flyers you get in the mail. They come in an envelope, and you open them up. You probably threw them in the garbage, but it was an intense job. It was a 100% commission selling job. I learned how to cold call. They had a formula there. If you did 40 cold calls a week, you would get 8 presentations, and then you'd get 2 sales out of those 8 presentations. That job taught me a lot. Taught me a lot about cold calling. Taught me a lot about rejection. Knocking on doors. It gave me a real boost of self-esteem. It takes a lot of courage to go up to somebody and just try to sell something to them. So that job definitely taught me a lot. I stayed there for about a year and a half just to get that experience under my belt, and then decided that I wanted to move on to be able to make money, because it was actually costing me money to do that job.
She worked for free.
So, but I got the experience. That's the main part of that job, was I got the experience I needed just to show that I could sell something. So I responded, Action Pack. I responded to an ad in the paper. I did my job search. I responded to an ad in the paper, and I applied to a company called Kino Mobility. So Kino Mobility was a vehicle modifier, and they modify vehicles for the disabled and the elderly. I knew nothing about vehicles. I knew nothing. I didn't know what a Dodge Grand Caravan was at the time. I applied. I got a job interview. I went to that job interview, and they hired me. It was a great learning experience. I was so new to the industry. I learned so much about the modification world of vehicles, about the healthcare industry, about just disabilities in general. I loved it instantly. Just the company I worked for was a small company. It was very male dominated. I was sort of the
Only.
I was
The only woman.
yeah, but I loved this industry as soon as I entered it. And I had so many ideas, but I wasn't allowed to do sort of what I wanted to do at this company. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, basically what they did is they had a way of doing things, and they wanted her to stay within that box, even though she saw a ton of potential and a ton of different ways to approach customers and grow the business. The owner really had a lack of vision and didn't really care to hear new ideas and grow the business. He just thought that he had all the ideas and they should just do it his way.
Yeah. So I was at Kino Mobility for about a year and a half. So long enough to be in the industry, to learn it, to make contacts, to make good relationships with people. And then I got fired. I was devastated. I've never been fired from a job. I worked so hard and I tried to learn so much, and I got fired. I couldn't believe it. So I, came home that night and I was in tears, and the first thing, you call your parents, you tell them, oh, you got fired from your job, and my dad wanted to give me money right away, right? And so I was crying, I was upset. But I had met about a month earlier a manager from Shoppers Home Healthcare in the automotive division at the Toronto Auto Show. So I had his business card. And so my husband said to me that night, don't call him right now, you're upset, but call him first thing in the morning. So I listened to him. I got up the next morning. Again, that took me back to my Action Pack days where I had to do cold calling. So I had to call this guy that I didn't really know, but called him. Hi, I'm Leslie Arith. I worked at Kino Mobility. I know that Shoppers is coming on strong in the vehicle modification industry. Can I meet with you? And so I'll just keep going. So yeah, I met with my future manager from Shoppers Home Healthcare, and he ended up hiring me on a 6-month contract. And one of their questions to me when they hired me was, can I sell $1 million in 1 year? So I knew I could. I was dedicated to this industry, and I knew I could do it. I had made good relationships and good contacts with people. So Shoppers hired me on a 6-month contract, and I worked my butt off. I worked so hard that he had to sort of pull me back with the reins and say, I haven't seen you in a couple months. Do you want to just slow? But I worked so hard in that 6 months that I sold my first $1 million in 7 months. So I built I built relationships in my industry. I work with occupational therapists and different healthcare professionals to provide mobility solutions for clients with needs. People in wheelchairs, people who use walkers, people who need hand controls, people who need a lift to lift their scooter in the back of a vehicle. So I made good contacts and just did what I wanted to do at the previous company, at Kino Mobility. I could do everything I wanted to do at Shoppers Home Healthcare. Shoppers was a great organization. I had a great boss there. He was a real mentor to me. He let me do what I wanted to do. He let me grow the business. He always told me that I work for Shoppers, like I hang my hat up Shoppers, but people buy from me. So I had great years there. I was there for 9 years. I had just a great run there. It was the kind of job that I thought that I worked for the largest retailer in Canada, and I thought that I would be there for 20 years or 30 years, and I would retire there, right? It was great. Like I said, I had a great boss. Within that 9 years, we had 2 beautiful children, Natalie, who's turning 6 this month, and Addison, who's 3 years old. And so I took my maternity leave from that job, and I came back, and I still did as well as I could. So it was just it was a great run. Then Loblaws bought Shoppers Drug Mart about 4 years ago. So after that sale, sort of the writing was on the wall for us in home health care. Loblaws was a company that liked a quick transaction. So you take a case of water, you scan it over the counter, you get the money, it's paid for, it's over. My industry, my sales cycle is about a 6-month sales cycle. So it's consultative, it's labor intensive. I can see one client numerous times in a few months. So it's just not it wasn't a business space that Loblaws wanted to be in. And so they sold us. They sold the automotive division at Shoppers Home Healthcare. The problem with who they were going to sell us to was they were selling us to a competitor that I had been selling against for 10 years. So I was saying, please buy this product because it's the best in the industry, but now I had to go to say, now you have to buy this product. And I couldn't do it. I would have left the industry, it wasn't in me to do that. I believed in the product that I sold, so now what? The company and it was a good job, like the company that Shoppers sold to, it's called Savaria, they were offering me a great position. I was gonna get paid well, I'd have a company car and a cell phone, but just like I said, it was a competitor's product that I'd been selling against for so many years. So my colleagues from the Toronto office, we got together and we put a business plan together, and we tried to figure out where we could go to keep selling the products that we were used to selling. We went to the Humberview Group. The Humberview Group is a privately owned company by the Espelin family. They own 28 car dealerships in sort of the greater Toronto area. We formulated a business plan. We had a contact there, one of the guys I worked with. He knew the CFO of the Humberview Group, so we sort of had our in. That's how we got to meet with him. But we put together a business plan, we put together our numbers, and presented it to them, and just wanted to see if they would be interested in taking us on. Yeah, so they did. I've been with Humberview Mobility now for 1 year. We just celebrated our 1st-year anniversary. They've put us in a building. They renovated a building for us. It's like our own little wheelchair accessible van car dealership. It's fully wheelchair accessible. They're a great organization to work for. They fund us. They're just a great company to be with. So I turned sort of something that could have gone badly into something that turned out very good.
You good?
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
so.
So I'll just fill in a few of the gaps there too. There's, one of the things that Leslie didn't mention is when she did have when she did come home and she was fired from the Keno Mobility job, I was already unemployed, looking for a job myself. So basically, there was two of us with a mortgage, unemployed. Not a great situation, but oddly enough, within that month, we were both employed again. Her at Shoppers and myself with Rico. So, anyways, again, it was a little stressful, but it's a good thing. With this last transition over to the Humberview Group, this is an organization that had no interest in going to the mobility side, had no idea about the mobility side, and really the meeting was granted because of the contact with the CFO. But one of the things that was really telling to me when Leslie was sharing her story with respect to the meeting, and it was a secondary meeting, and now the president of the company was in there, was, the CFO looked at her and said, I know them, but you've got the fire. So they were banking on her fire and her desire to succeed, that they were betting their money on her and the team. So, that says a lot about her passion for this industry and helping people out. The other interesting part that she didn't mention, but I will, is that 2.5 years after she went to Shoppers, she pretty much single-handedly put the people who fired her out of business. So, she won't say it was kind of one of her goals. But anyways, so what I'm going to do right now is just take you through a few little things that kind of can make or break a sale. And it's pretty simple little things, but these are things that I've learned and I try to bring into play every day. So I'm just going to add to this because I couldn't find a slide that said it all. But the old saying says, dirty shoes, dirty underwear. What does that mean, right? What does that mean? I know, sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody if I did. But basically what it's saying is, whatever you put out to the world is basically what you have inside, right? So if you have dirty shoes, you're probably not well kept inside. So you've got to be careful about the image you present to people when you're going out there and doing the work regarding sales. 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? Listen. The more you listen, the more people tell you, the more you ingratiate yourself to customers. I heard a stat one time on the radio, and it said, what determines a good date? And what they found when they studied it is the person who talked the most determined if it was a good date or not. So if it was a 50-50, then most people said, it was a good date. If one person asked all the questions and the other person talked, well, the person who talked said it was a great date. The person who asked all the questions said, it was really boring. So keep that in mind. Listen to them as much as you can because they'll think it's a good date, right? And you gather information which will help move you forward with the sale. Frank and I differ on this one. I think it's better to have a short pencil, and I put the cat in there for you. Better to have a short pencil than a long memory. What do I mean by that? When you're with a customer or prospect, write things down. Our days get busy, our lives are busy, it's easy to miss a key detail. I can always flip back to my notepad and look at something I wrote down that I might have missed. Right? As human beings, we don't tend to have a tendency of keeping everything in our brain. There's just not enough room. Right? When you're driving your car, I bet you everybody says, I can't remember how I got to work, because who cares? The details are, I don't need to know that, right? You want to keep the important stuff. But a pad and paper gives you all of that information. Okay? I got a bit of both, but I still write things down because it allows me to keep that fresh in my mind. Never waste your time with people who don't value you. I put something on the bottom there, right? Something that is free has no value. What do I mean by that? I was talking to somebody here at the last meeting, and we were talking about his business and how he goes about prospecting. He said, you know, I went and I met with a customer and I put together a business case for them and gave them some great technology ideas. And I followed up with them, you know, a couple weeks or a couple months later and asked him if he wanted to proceed forward. He said, oh, thank you very much. We went ahead and implemented your ideas. Right? That's heartbreaking, right? You're doing the work, you're giving them the knowledge. You should be paid for that information. So, suggestion to him was, and this will also allow you to determine who's serious about doing business with you and who's not. Charge them for your work. And tell them you'll give them a discount on their work going forward if they implement with you. Either way, you're ahead, right? You're getting paid for your intellectual knowledge, or you're going to get the business moving forward. But put value on everything you do, because our time is the only thing we really have. All right? Anybody disagree? All right. The right customer is king. I could have put the king as customer. The right customer is king. What do I mean by that? You can have customers who aren't worth your time, take up a lot of your time, but don't put any money in your pocket, right? I'll give you an example of this. So I used to work for another company called Lexmark. We worked for 4 years on gaining business with a global account called Kodak. Everybody know the name? Right. They used to be very powerful. Anyway, so we worked very hard, and one of the things that they had is you always bring good ideas, bring good ideas to us because we want to implement them. And we bring ideas to them, bring ideas to them, bring ideas to them. They wouldn't do anything with them. So at the end of the year, they had like a vendor meeting. And the format was they had all their bigwigs sitting across the table from you, and they tell you about your performance. And then you take a 10-minute break, and then you get to come back and kind of do your rebuttal to them. And so they were a very demanding customer. They expected you to go above and beyond, but they weren't really buying what they should have been buying for a multi-billion-dollar company. So we went into the meeting and they said, you know, you guys are doing terrible. Your service is terrible, this, that, and the other thing. So we took it for half an hour, walked out, regrouped, walked back in. They said, okay. We said, you're fired. They went, what? You're fired. We don't want to do business with you. Right? You're taking up our resources. You don't appreciate our efforts. You never implement our ideas. We're out of here. Well, you can't do that. We just did. But that doesn't fit our process. We don't care. Right? The problem is they were costing us money to do business with them. And they weren't appreciating the work that we do. So work with people who appreciate your efforts. Right? You'll get referrals, which a nice warm call is a lot better than a cold call. Right? So deal with people who want to deal with you. And fire those who don't. Anybody disagree? Good. Everybody says don't sweat the small stuff in life. In business, sweat the small stuff. Right? Sweat the small stuff. Everybody has parents, right? Or had parents at some point. So, Tony, pick up your shoes. I'll do it later. Tony, pick up your shoes. I'll do it later. Tony, pick up your shoes. I'll do it later. Tony, how many times do I have to tell you to pick up your shoes? So, people get very, very aggravated when the small details are missing. They're willing to forgive a big mistake, because everybody makes mistakes. But small details means you're not really paying attention, right? So, making those small errors over and over and over again become very costly. So, take care of the small details, everything else will take care of itself, okay? It's the old adage. Take care of the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. Same concept, okay? Again, details, right? We were doing a presentation or a proposal for somebody at one time. It was for $1 million RFP. And it was due the next day, so we're printing it out. I work for a copier company. It's a print RFP. So we print it out, and I start looking through it, and there's smudges. So, oh, we got to reprint this, I said. The person who put together the proposal says, don't worry about it, send it. I said, are you kidding me? We're a printing company. What does that say about our technology? We reprinted it. So again, it was a small detail, but it's important because it's putting forth that image, right? That concept. It's telling me who we are. The other thing is in sales is one of the ideas is, today I'll ask you how your September is going. And it's because what you do today will determine how your business is 3 months down the road. Now, depending on your business, it could be a month down the road, it could be 2 months down the road. But the key is, and I do this too, if you don't continue to prospect, at one point you're going to find you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs because there's no business coming in, you got to start the whole thing. So when you're busiest is when you want to keep doing that prospecting, so you keep that trend going. I think Leslie said some of this, part of this today in her story, right? What's the definition of insanity? Doing things the same way over and over again and expecting a different result. Try something different, right? Just do something different. I walked into Siemens one time with a letter and dropped it off handwritten to the president of the company and said, I can save you $7 million. I'll call you in 3 weeks to set up a meeting. 2 days later, he had 6 people in a room to meet with me, right? Why? I did something different. I got his attention. So do something differently. I've got an idea that I've been trying to get a hold of an operations person at a company. I'm about to, in the next few days, go get a bunch of balloons, deliver balloons to her office, and in there saying, I was able to deliver the balloons, let me show you I can deliver efficiencies to your organization. Will it work? I don't know, but email, phone calls, letters aren't working. So let me try something different to get her attention. Try it. What do you got to lose, right? Nothing from nothing is still nothing. So try something. If you really want to talk to them, try something different. Okay? Nobody will bite you. I could tell you a story, but it's a little bit off color about one of the things one of my colleagues did at a time to get attention of a VP at one of the banks. Right? And he sent her a Christmas ball. And he said, here you go, Merry Christmas. I won't tell you what he said. He said, but I'm sending you a Christmas ball because you won't meet with me. Anyways, he got the meeting. So it sounds better the way he tells it because it's a lot better, but I just cleaned it up. So with that, we're done. So we wanted to leave some time for questions and answers. Are there any questions for Leslie or I? Yep.
So when you first called the shoppers, when you called them,
Yeah.
or the gentleman,
Yeah.
did the question ever come up to say, oh, how come you're not working, for that organization?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was the first thing he asked me. Yeah. He knew, like, it's a small industry that I'm in, so he knew who I was. And he just said, oh, what happened at Kino? And I was honest, right? Like I said, I got fired, And he was a great guy. So he's very open-minded. He loved talking to people. Like he was on the street, finding out what's going on in the industry. So he met with me anyways. And it took them a good month to hire me and a lot of convincing because I think because I got fired from there, they just didn't think I could do the job. But yeah, I was just completely honest. And I just said, yeah, I got fired. And yeah.
And why do you think he was, because oftentimes we're told to by other people sometimes to skirt around the issue or something like that. But I really love that you were just completely honest.
Yeah.
And why do you think for him he's like, oh, you got fired? No problem. Like I still love you. I still trust you.
Yeah, like he was. I think he did see like a flag there, right? Because I did get fired, so he did see that flag. That's why it took. He didn't hire me right away. I met with him. I went out to London. That's for the head office was for the automotive division. I met with the director of the automotive division, so I met with them. I had a few interviews and a few meetings, and they didn't hire me full time. They hired me on a 6-month contract because they were just testing the water with me. They probably thought she's not going to do it, right? And I did the complete, what's that?
The letter.
Yeah, I finally sent an email, like, because he kept asking me if I'm a closer. That was one of his questions. Are you a closer? And so I kept saying to Tony, like, I'd come home and I'd say, like, he wants to know if I'm a closer. How else I tell him that I can close? Like, how else can I tell him, you know? So with Tony's help, I formulated this email and sent it to him, just stressing how much of a closer I am, right? And like, just, yeah, and then they hired me on that 6-month contract because they probably thought she won't be able to do it. And I did
I
it.
disagree with you. I think they thought that they knew that you could do it. That's why they
Yeah?
hired you.
You think so?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
their intuition told them she has capabilities.
Yeah,
They wanted to obviously try it, but
Yeah.
otherwise they wouldn't put you on at all.
yeah,
So they had faith in you. They did.
okay, yeah.
That's my opinion.
Okay, that's nice coming from you because you're like,
That's what I would look
Yeah,
for, right?
you're an owner
I
of a
wouldn't have
company,
anybody that
so-
I would waste my time with,
yeah,
right? So that's just a compliment to you. I think and being honest and being like straightforward the way you are, I think it helps you close the deal.
yes, for sure.
People, they need to trust you.
Yeah, for sure. 100% there.
Leslie's also got a great disposition if you haven't figured it out yet. But people have actually come in and said to her, I want to do this, this, and this. And she'll ask a bunch of questions. And she said, you're not ready to buy yet. Come back. This is what has to happen before I can get you into the proper product. So she's willing to be, one of my favorite stories about it is she was sitting there with a guy who's had a daughter in a wheelchair. And he was, I want a truck, right? I want a truck. And back and forth. And she finally looked at him and said, look, do you want to sit there having a struggle to put your daughter in a truck when it's snowing and raining outside? Right? And the guy looked at her and went, I'll take a van. Right? It's that honesty, it's that conviction, it's that. But she's
Educating your customer, educating them.
right.
Giving
Yeah.
them advice.
Yeah.
That's all.
Gentleman up there had a question.
Hi.
I have a question about, resigning before you get fired. Like, what do you think of that? Say, for example, you think things are a little bit good there, and you think they may try to terminate you at some point. Do you think it's a good idea to just resign before that happens, or are you like from the school where you just keep working?
Me personally, it's easier to find a job when you have a job.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, you give up your severance when you resign.
Versus allowing them to just get to the point where they're going to fire.
Right. Or you could pull up your socks. Right?
Well, they are up.
Okay, well that's fine. And I wasn't suggesting that they're not up, because really, she got let go not because of her sales performance, likely because she was the only woman in the men's industry, right? Her performance wasn't any different, and everybody else was buddies. So she happened to be the odd person out. But I would not resign my role. I would keep going and try and find something else, because from a marketing perspective, you are more valuable and more marketable if you're working someplace else. The other component is if you don't have a job, when it comes to negotiating, you've weakened your position, right? You want a job? Great. I want 50. Nah, can you give me 60? Sorry, 50, take it or leave it. You don't have that bargaining power. If they have to draw you away from someplace else, then it's going to cost them a little bit more. That's my advice. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it's better.
Talk about your own position. Do you feel like it feels better to say, well, I left, versus saying, well, they fired me at this time? Or
I was so new in that industry. Like, the vehicle modification industry is a big learning curve. So I was so new in it that I didn't even think of leaving, to be honest. Like, I just didn't think of leaving. I didn't even think I was going to get fired. So I don't know, just, No, I would never have resigned from there because I was so new at it that I was learning every day. So
I was from the computer industry. Like
Yeah.
I was working in mobile games.
yeah,
That industry is weird because some of these companies make billions.
Yeah.
Like Supercell, they make billions of sales.
Yeah.
And then there's times when the game just isn't popular. They make so much less money until they put out something new that's super popular, and then they make a ton of money. It has this sort of like curve that deals with how well the game is doing. So the money can be bad at times. Then at those times, the company can get a little more tense. And I think too tense. I was like, things are not good there. So I resigned.
Yeah.
And then I've always kind of semi-regretted that because if I just stayed there, maybe they wouldn't have tried to fire me at all. You can't tell. So I just took a guess, and I was like, I'm just going to move out to another place. But it turns out that thing where if you don't have a position at the time, it doesn't as good as if you're moving from a job.
We're in sales.
Yeah.
We always think we're getting fired. Right? I wake up every morning, I think that's my last day at work. Right? That's very motivating. Yes, Jay.
Okay, so you went to a group like Humberview when you got together with your other partners. Why did you decide to go that route versus just going out on your own? Just saying, we're just going to put up a shingle and do this? Because you're not really selling vehicles, you're selling the process of outfitting that car.
We sell vehicles though too. So we stock converted vehicles. So like I'm a car salesperson for wheelchair accessible vans.
Okay.
So yeah, we talked a lot about that, like going out on our own, and just I just don't think it was completely the right time, right?
Okay.
Like I have a young family. We have a young family. There's 4 of us that went. So I have a technician, another sales guy, our office admin, and myself. So my technician has 3 kids. We just didn't feel it was the right time for us to take on that venture.
So they provided you with a little more structure
Yeah.
out of the box.
Structure, and they're a $1 billion company. They have lots of money behind them, right? So they just have that funding that we needed. So.
This is more towards not necessarily the past like the slides, but more about when you're doing a cold call. There must be like a sort of script structure, not even a script, like a guideline, like step A, step B, step C. Like introduce yourself for step A and what's next. How would you structure that and transition between it smoothly? Because for an amateur cold call.
Mark is an engineer, second-year student, so of course the sales is not in the same way as your brain works, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. So it really depends. There's no set way. So I've taken a lot of different sales trainings. People would say, you call up and say, hey, I'm Tony from Rico. And he goes, sorry, I don't have time right now, Clay. Others would say, hi, I want to come and talk to you about this, this, and this. My name's Tony from Rico. Right? Don't ever ask, is this a good time? Right? The key to a successful cold call has nothing to do with you, Mark. Absolutely nothing. It has everything to do with the person you're talking to. Okay? You are inconsequential. How's that for an ego boost? Right? It's all about them. What is it that you're offering that they're going to benefit from? And once you can verbalize that, then it becomes more potent. You will never sell absolutely everybody you talk to, so forget that, no matter how good you are, right? Close rates are not 100%. Even in her business, where there's 3 or 4 competitors, if her close rate was 100%, there'd be only her company. It's not going to happen, right? Different people have different requirements, and that's with any business. So I would say, really, before you start making a cold call, find out what would be intriguing to the person you're calling to. So I like to do research before I call anybody. I mean, if it's up and down the street, it's a little bit difficult. But if you're looking at prospecting, say, for instance, for jobs, I wouldn't use the internet myself, I would call people directly, right? Find out who they are, look at job searches, call presidents directly. Here's what I can do for you, or here's what we can do for you. Here's how you're going to benefit from our services. It's about them. So there's no real structure. You're going to have to find, I'll think. Now, if you're vertical, if you're vertically, if your marketplace is vertical, then once you get a particular solution that fits a particular group, then what you do is you can call and say, we helped one of your competitors do this. Not sure if we could do it for you, but are you interested in hearing? And something about executives, they got egos. In their head, they're thinking, why can't he do it for me? I'm worthy. I'll meet with you. Right? So it's always about what they need. It's not about you. Never about you. If you take care of your customer and fit their needs, everything else rolls behind it. Yes? Yes.
Tony, the beauty of the speakers that we've had is some work for big corporations, big companies, some were independent businesses. Can you talk about the value of setting a sales quota? For you, you set it every year with your superiors, and likewise, I would imagine, Leslie. Can you talk about the importance for us as independent business owners to also have some sort of quota?
Sure. So really, call it quota, call it financial forecasting, call it whatever. Basically, as a small business owner, you're going to need to have a certain amount of revenue to pay for your location, your employees, and everything that goes down. So without having that target to work towards, you're never going to get there, right? You're flying blind and you're flying by the seat of your plant. The other part is you probably don't have a plan. So every year a plan is laid out for me because I work for a large company. Here's your quota. But before the year is over, what I start to do is track my business. Where's my business? What can I see that's quasi-guaranteed? What's my gap? And where do I find it? Right? So that's what that quota does, or that budget does. It helps focus you on what you need to do to get to where you're at. The other thing I would suggest too is start tracking your metrics, whatever it is that you're doing, right? With Leslie's job, it was the first one, make 40 cold calls, you're going to make 8 presentations, you're going to do 2 sales, right? So, and the average sale is $1,000. Well, if you plan to make X amount of dollars, then you can start to track those metrics to figure out exactly what you need to do today to get to where you got to get to at the end of the year. Okay? It just gives you more structure. I hate cold calling, but I know I have to. So you schedule it in. Nobody likes cold calling. I think I've met one person in all my years who liked cold calling. But you have to cold call, or you have to make new contacts to continue to grow the business. So that would be my thing, is the importance of a budget. Yes?
Can you talk more about
Sure. Closing the deal. I think with respect to closing the deal is it's really, I'm kind of a soft closer, but I think what really helps close the deal is making sure that the customer has properly verbalized sort of the impact, right? So I'll ask questions such as, if you don't do this, what's the impact to your business? What are the ramifications of this happening? If you can't get your billing out on time, what impact does that have on your organization? Well, I can't do this, that, and that. Okay, what does that do moving forward? So if you strongly verbalize or get the customer to verbalize exactly what all their challenges are and what the ramification is of not doing it, then they close themselves. The old days where you put a piece of paper out in front of them, the old Xerox way, shove a piece of paper out and you basically force them to close, it's not going to happen today. It just doesn't happen. So I'm very much a soft closer. Keep asking the questions. You could start doing things also like, when do you need this done? What sort of timeline are you looking at? We would need 3 months implementation. So, can you give us we would need an order signed by this day in order to make sure we meet your timelines. A lot of times when I do presentations for customers, I will put a schedule on the back. Sign paperwork this day, kickoff meeting this day, implementation starts this day, implementation completed this day. It becomes a very powerful tool because then they say, whoa, that's too fast. Okay, what dates do you want to use? Well, we would use these. Okay, they're telling you they're buying from you, right? Those are buying signals. So the hard close, what industry are you in, by the way? Jewelry? Okay, so they're walking in, you gotta get them. Okay. Okay, so I don't know your business, but my guess is that when they come in and they start looking at it and they're kicking it around and you're consulting them on what level of stone they want, and so you're taking them through the process, right? It's a funnel. If somebody comes in and says, hey, what's the price on a diamond? And you go, well, what diamond do you want? Oh, a diamond, I'm looking for 1 carat. Just send me prices on everything. Not likely serious. But if I come in and say, look, I'm looking for a 1 carat VV1, is that the right term?
Sorry, 1 carat.
Is it VV1? There. I don't know if that's a good level or a bad level. I haven't bought a diamond in a while. Sorry, sweetie. But I buy Canadian diamonds. But the person comes in and says, "Oh, diamond." So the first thing you might ask them is, "Okay, what's it for?" Right? Oh, it's for an engagement. Oh, when are you planning on proposing? So now you start to, right? Okay, you're getting information. What were you thinking? What kind of shape of diamond were you thinking? And you take them through the process and you start consulting them, right? The other thing that does is, and this is a key point for what she does, it will separate you from the person down the street. Because you're consulting them, you're giving them the ideas, you're the person that's in there. You set yourself apart from the person who's trying to get the quick sale, right? I'm not here to sell you anything, I'm here to help you get the ring that you want. So, as they start going further and further, once they get to designing it, they're buying from you, realistically. Is that fair? So that's what I would do, is start bringing them through and in your head you probably do it all the time.
So Leslie, what was it in your email that the guy, when you said, Tony, he wants me to tell him I'll close her? What was it? What convinced the guy to hire you? How did you close him in that email that you sent?
I just talked about kind of my experience, like even from waitressing, like even when I was a waitress, I realized I was selling. I was upselling from, you want a pop? Why don't you try this new drink we have tonight? Or gravy with your fries. Like you're always even selling there. So I just went through, I took each job that I had and talked about how I closed the sale. Like Action Pack, selling those flyers, and I just kind of put together this note about, from every job I had taken, how I actually closed sales. So, yeah.
Yes, sorry.
So, with, you know how with the one after the Action Pack?
Yeah.
The ideas that you wanted to implement,
Yeah.
were you able to implement them when you were in Shoppers?
For sure, yeah. Shoppers, like they're a big company, right? Big organization, and my boss, I've talked about him, he was a great guy and was very open to my ideas. We'd butt heads, like he didn't let me run wild or anything, but he gave me that freedom. He didn't micromanage me. I like to do lunch and learns for therapists and show them products that are available and go into rehab centers and do demos, and so I got to do all that stuff with Shoppers. Yeah, it was a great job. Like it was sad. It was a sad day when I had to leave that office. It was.
So, if you could speak a little bit about how you can get people to come in and consult with you rather than ask for quotes over the phone. So let me give you an example. We're a computer repair store, and people would call, how much is it to repair a screen? And you don't want to do that because the person who's calling 10 places are looking just for the best price, and we're not the cheapest.
Yep.
But we provide good service. what techniques or what strategies do you have to bring them in and say, come in, let's have a look at it, and then we'll evaluate and give you the best solution possible?
Yeah, I'm the same way because I'm selling a physical product. So I get calls like that too. How much is this fan, or how much is this? And I've stopped giving prices out over the phone. So I try to get them to come in. So for me, I have to say things like, I can bring one van to show you, but if you come in to see me, I can show you a multitude of vehicles that are different conversions that may meet your need. So for you, it just might be the same thing. Like you could just saying things like, I can't diagnose exactly what's going on with your product, right? Like to give you a full solution, it's best for you to come in so I can give you a full detail on what's going on with it. Like,
yeah, for your thing too, I might say something along the lines of, look, I understand your screen's broken, but there could be a lot more going on. So for me to give you a price on the screen isn't really going to necessarily solve your problem. So what I suggest is you come in, let us have a look at it, and if it's just your screen, great. But if it's something more, at least we can give you a quote on it right then and there, right? It's just, there's the old FUD. It's a term and it's not manipulative, but it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? If someone's just calling around for prices, then they think they know what they're doing. But if you make them just sort of, you know what, he's got a point. Maybe it is something else too. Then they'll take the effort to come in, and they'll appreciate that. They will appreciate you sort of going the extra mile. It separates you from everybody else. It doesn't take a lot in today's business world to separate yourself from the masses, because in many cases the masses are all doing the same thing. So if you elevate your game a little bit, it starts to separate you from everybody else. It's just small things you can do, right? Just sort of saying to the guy, hey, you know what, come in because it could be a lot more wrong with that. Oh, okay. Leslie, I could give you a quote on a vehicle, but I don't know if it's the right thing for you. So let's make sure it's the right thing. If you're making a $50,000 purchase, and she's had people that have had quotes from other organizations, they've come in and it's just like, it's not the right vehicle for you. It just doesn't work. And here's why, right? And people appreciate that. And guess what? She gets the sale. Consultative selling is key these days, right? And that's what you're doing. You're consulting them in a way.
You're setting up yourself as the expert.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And boy, does it get nice when you go from a salesperson to the trusted advisor. Hey, I've got this. What would you recommend? Let me tell you what I recommend. This, and this. I would recommend this, but it's more expensive. I'm going to suggest this because it's going to just do the job. Right? Okay, thank you. Right? You build that trust. Trust is key in sales. If people can't trust you, forget it. The best story, the easiest story to remember is the truth. So, once you start fibbing people, you'll get caught somewhere. So be honest. I know that's a crazy thing coming from a salesperson, but it's be honest. Yes?
We're running out of time, but I just wanted to get one thing in if I could. So, Leslie, you didn't mention it, but you had a great opportunity to just say a Shoppers Drug Mart, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you were given a great position, great as you mentioned.
Yeah.
But you wanted to be an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but I want to talk about the risk. We all say take risk. You had 2 little kids.
Yeah.
Right? So you decided to take this risk. The easy thing would have been just stay the course. You were there for 9 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that whole risk, this is where it actually comes into play. And to me, that's what I've always admired, and that's why I brag about my friend Leslie, because you could have stayed, right?
Yeah, I could have stayed. I could have gone to the company that Shoppers sold to. It was a good job. Like, they were paying me more than I was making at Shoppers. But like I said, it was a competitor's product, and I couldn't do it. So I took the risk, and
you got rewarded.
Yeah, and it's been great.
The other sideline to that is whatever you're selling, you better believe in it.
Yeah.
This is why she didn't go to the competitor. She didn't believe that the product was as good as what she was selling. It becomes very difficult to convey that belief if you don't really believe in it. If you think you are the best, people will think you are the best. If you don't think you're the best, people will see that. That confidence comes through. And as you get more and more successful, that success continues to build up, and you get more confident and more successful. So, believe in it. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. There is still some coffee and eats left, so please stay and network with each other.
That was a great story.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Check out, we're closing for the summer, so we'll be back September the 21st.
As a matter of fact, Jonathan is here, who's our September speaker. Sorry, Sheila, can I just get 1 sec? Sir, Jonathan's session is going to be about, again, how a technology company grew to be one of Canada's largest software, but he's also going to talk to us about what free software we can use to help us manage our sales. Is that cool? Yeah. Okay, so that's September 21st, I think it is?
Yes.
Okay. Have a great summer.
Thanks, everybody.